If y'all want me to sing like that, it's not happening. Tom mentioned the cookout in Atlanta. Our group sponsors that each year. Or it was cookout, but we're doing a potluck this year because I really got fooled. October 21st, this time of the year, I said, hey, you never know what the weather's like. I was wrong. We've had some nice weather. It is at 423 Lindell Lane, 32407 Panama City. And that's only a couple miles this way. You'll see the, I think it's the Panama City Beach Library. It's just behind that. We got a big room, and hopefully everybody will come and see us. I want to add a couple jokes to Tom's jokes. But I can do this because most of you know my wife, and she's not here. So she's blonde, and it's an interesting life for me sometimes. So, and I know nobody in this room is going to tell my wife I'm talking about her right now. Nobody will do that. So I'm watching her vacuum, and when she's vacuuming, what she does, she vacuums over this piece of string in the floor. She reaches down, picks it up, drops it down, and gives the vacuum one more try. So, okay. I buy a box of Cheerios. She goes out in the backyard and plants them in the plants because she says she's going to grow a donut tree. That's my wife. So we have a good time, and I love her to death. And she works for assisted living. She really does a good job with those guys, and that's a thankless job, but she really has a big heart, and I love her to death. So I wanted to make right quick mention that we're from Atlanta, Bremen area. We had 3 baptisms this past summer. One of the ladies had stage 4 ovarian cancer, and about 4 weeks and 4 or 5 days ago or something like that, and she's here today. And she's been here. She's been doing good. And all of y'all probably know these guys anyway, so I know a lot of you know all our group up there. We're kind of a nutty bunch, but we are a good bunch. I wanted to go over to, right quickly, in Exodus 31. And that's my first one. I want to go to Exodus 31, verse 13. Let me see if I can I got to move this a little bit because of the light, I can't see it very well. It says, speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, verily, my Sabbath you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations. My Sabbaths you shall keep. It's a sign between you, me and you throughout your generations. The Sabbaths are the holy days. That's what we're here for. So we are keeping our sign between God and us. And if you skip on down just a little bit further to verse 17, it also is talking about the Sabbath, and it is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. In 6 days the Lord made heaven and the earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. And so I was talking with somebody the other day, and it happens every time I talk to somebody that mostly are nominal Christians. They'll say, well, why do I go on Saturday? And I always, inevitably, one of the first things I've learned was to go to John 1. Nobody needs to turn to that. You probably all have it memorized. But for me, I'll read it. And I'll just go to John 1, verses 1 through 3. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by Him. Without Him was not anything made that was made. And so I'll use that scripture quite a bit to the people because what they do is they always say, well, that's Old Testament stuff. And I say, no, it's New Testament. There's only 2 places in the Bible it talks about in the beginning. So when I do this and we start talking about it, I try to remind these folks that, hey, you got to stick to the trunk of the tree. I learned when I was a kid, you go out too far on that limb, you're going to fall, and that hurts. And so I try to stick to the trunk of the tree. And when we do that, what I'll do inevitably is I go to the trunk of the tree. So I turn back after we read John 1 or we talk about John 1, and everybody knows all these scriptures, but we're going to turn to Exodus 20. And I'm just going to read pretty much everything there with a couple of comments. And most everybody has that memorized. I have it on my doorpost at home. Or not my doorpost, but my door. And when people come up the door, they have to read it. I actually went to, I think it was my insurance agent's place one time. I went in and I looked at the 10 Commandments, and there was one missing. We'll talk about that in just a second. Really, I counted them. There was 9 commandments, but there was one missing. And I thought to myself, what is this all about? But anyway, so Exodus 20, it says, and God spake, God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of Egypt, the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. My Bible's a little bit difficult to see right here. Thou shalt not bow down to thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, showing mercy to the thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. That's a lot of words. I think I wrote in here mine, I think that's 91 words just for that commandment alone. And then I'll go on down a little bit further, and as Exodus 27, it says, thou shalt not take the Lord thy God in vain, name in vain, I'm sorry. Let me get my glass, there we go. For the Lord will not hold guiltless he that takes the name in vain. And then it goes into the Sabbath day. And we're going to come back to that one in just a second. So the first one with the promise is honor thy father and mother, that thy days may be long upon the land in which the Lord thy God gives thee. Then it goes into thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. So those are the ones that we all know that are basically, most of the world tries to keep those, with a few exceptions of some other people and politicians that I hear. I didn't watch this debate last night, y'all. I just can't do it. I'm sorry. I know there's some people glued to it. I said, no, I can't do it. But anyway, so those are the ones that most of the people don't have a problem with. But when we go back to Exodus 28, you go, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but in the seventh day is the Sabbath unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not do any work, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within the gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth and the sea, and all them that is, and rested on the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. And like I say, I've seen some commandments where they don't show that, or a lot of them will abbreviate that and just say, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. But when I count that, and I count the two longest ones, that tells me this one's got like 94 words in it. It's questionable because some of these words are interjected in there, but those are a lot of words for a couple commandments. Those are from God. He tells us to keep these. He don't tell us that, he don't use a lot of words for the other one, but these are how we're supposed to love God, and these are the sign between Israel and his people. And these are the ones I think, in my opinion, are the first four are the ones that tells us that we're supposed to keep these, and that's the sign that he's looking for. The rest of them tell us how we, how we're supposed to treat fellow man. And if we took one of them, we probably would do just fine with one of them, and you would see a lot of crime rate go down. Let's see. I wanted to run over to, right quickly, Exodus 7. I hope I got the right scripture here. I should have, because I wrote this down about 6 months ago, but no. I think it was Exodus 7. I'm going to have to look right quick, because I didn't write down the verse. My bad. It's 19. I think it's 19, or Exodus 12, verse 7. Yeah, it was Exodus 12, verse 7. I'm sorry about that. So, and it says, and they shall take the blood of it and strike it on the two side posts and the upper door of the post wherein they shall eat it. And it's talking about the blood, sacrificial blood, and everybody knows the story of the Passover. We do that at the first of the year. But what I was trying to point out on that one is that if you think about the blood and you think about what God did, he went over and he passed over their houses. But the rest of the Egyptians, they lost their firstborn. And so God's able to protect you. But I think God really wants us to stick to the trunk of the tree and to make sure that we're following his law as we're supposed to. And I know for everybody here, that's what you're doing, because you wouldn't be here if you weren't. But anyway, so what I was wanting to point out is that, I've heard it said, and I've heard a lot of people kind of going off in a little different directions here and there, and I can't do that as well as a lot of people can, but we all do have the Bible, and we've all been taught the same things, and there's nothing that's new under the sun. It's all been taught the same thing. We are supposed to be watching for two major signs. That's what we should be watching for. We are supposed to be keeping the law, and that's what we're supposed to be doing as well. So with that, and I'm going to keep it short because David's going to come up here, and he's pretty long-winded. Gotcha. I didn't see you scratching none, though. I didn't take your scriptures yet. I tried, but that's okay. We didn't collaborate either. I promise we didn't collaborate. So anyway, but what I wanted to kind of do is that we read the law aloud during the feast. That's one of the things we're supposed to do. That was one of my goals today, was to read the law aloud. And Stan was talking about that on the first day. And I read down a little bit further than what he said, and that's what he was talking about. I think it was in Nehemiah he was talking about it. And so I wanted to read the law aloud. I hope I did that. Maybe a little softer than some. Somebody said I sounded like John. I don't know why he said that, but he was just picking at me. He's a good friend too. So anyway, but we'll talk about 1 John 5:3 right quick, and then I'm going to close it up and let everybody go. And I got to get back there because my Bible, I should have marked these before I went, and I didn't. So 1 John 5 and verse 3. For this is the love of God. For this is the love of God, that we keep His commandments, and His commandments are not grievous. So for me, the trunk of the tree is the Ten Commandments, and I hope that I stay with that trunk of the tree, and I don't try to go off on another trunk somewhere, fall off a limb, or go out on a limb and say certain things that maybe turn people off. We try our best to. We have a loving group up in Atlanta, and we try our very best to make sure we all stick to that trunk of the tree, and we watch the DVDs, we do a little bit of studying, and we really have a good fellowship. So without further ado, Mr. David, right? Who's coming up? We're singing, right? Yeah, there you are. Okay.